Hi guys, I'm finally back. Thank you so much for bearing with me while I've been absent, and I'm really sorry for not making any videos in so long. A few different things just conspired against me to make it difficult. I had the flu, which really knocked me out for a while, and then I was away on a work trip, and then one of our dogs accidentally bit me and I was on antibiotics and blah 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 blah, but here I am. And I wanted to show you my current planner and journal lineup because it's been a while since I've shown you what I'm using and things have changed a little bit. So as you can see, I have got quite a number of planners here. This stack is planners, or the more planner-esque type of entities, and this one is journals. So let's go through the planners first. Starting with my one true planner. This is the planner that I would choose if I had to take only one planner to a deserted island. This is the Hobonichi Cousin, which I have been using for 4 years. This is now the 5th year in a Cousin, and the Cousin has traditionally been my work planner, although I've kind of started using it now as more of a main planner, and I'll explain that in a minute. So it is still largely my work planner, but I've started kind of basically just thinking of this as my only planner and the other ones as kind of things that hold to-do lists. And this is the only one that I put appointments in. So this is in the Alphabet Maze cover, which I got in the 2019 Hobonichi launch, and I absolutely love it. And as usual, it's with a mechanical pencil. I just put a sticky note in here. This is from the Mistmaker line of the Happy Planner accessories, and I really like having this here because I use this if there's anything that I have to note down while I'm out that is not to do with work. So something that would kind of fall more in the personal planner category, and that's because I've stopped carrying what used to be my personal planner around with me. That's the Hobonichi Weeks, and I do still use this, so I'll explain how I use it in a minute. So never fear, the Weeks has not been abandoned. It's just kind of transformed a little bit into something else. But if I'm out, like I'm at work or I'm somewhere else and I have this planner with me and I need to note down something that is not work related, I will usually put it on here. So I don't use the yearly calendars at the beginning for anything. I just occasionally use them if I need to reference a date in the following year. That's basically what I use them for. I do use the vertical yearly spread. I know it's blank at the moment, but that's because this is a spring Cousin, so it only starts at the beginning of April, which means that we're still in the first month. And I use this as an index to the daily pages because I use the daily pages in the Cousin not only for in-depth daily planning, but also for all kinds of work notes. So things like project notes, ideas, meeting notes, anything work-related that I want to write down, which is like most things, I'll put in the daily pages. And I use the blank page at the beginning of the month as an index. So I'll just show you what April looks like. This is my April index. So I just write down the topic of each day and I number from 1 to 30 or 31 as relevant for each month. And then I just write down this little index, and then I put an asterisk next to the ones that I think I'm going to need to refer to once the month is over. So sometimes these are just things that I need to scribble down at the time and I know I won't need to look back on them again. So sometimes they're daily notes, to-do lists, or like, you know, things that I jot down when I'm trying to figure something out, like if I'm trying to do a calculation or whatever that I know I won't have to check again. So at the end of the month, I'm going to go through and check everything that has an asterisk next to it and then transfer them over to here so that as the year goes on, I'll be able to just check this list back, because in the first month, this is my list, so I can easily just look at this. But after, like, you know, 6 or 7 months of monthly indices, it will start to get confusing, and that's when it's really convenient having the yearly index here. So the most important stuff that I need to check again, like long-term project notes, let's say, or ideas for future research projects, or you know, like long-term planning things, they're in here. Then we have the monthly spread, and I use the bookmarks that are built into this cover, but sometimes I switch out my covers quite a bit, and sometimes I switch into a cover that doesn't have built-in bookmarks, and so then I use various different postcards and pencil boards as bookmarks. So this one is just a painting of puffins that I bought when I was on a work trip in Greenland, and I got it laminated so I can use it as a bookmark. So in the monthly spread, it's still pretty empty right now. I do 2 different things with the monthly spread. I note down things that I want to check sometime during the month. So in this case, it's some references that I need to look up for some books that are relevant to a research project that I'm working on. And then I also use it when I need to map out how many days I think I'm going to be able to spend on a particular research project. So I'm an academic, so part of my job involves research, and that is a thing that is quite easy to lose control over because it's something that's not self-contained, unlike, say, teaching, where you know that you have to give lessons on particular days at particular times and it kind of runs itself a lot more. The research can be more difficult to manage, so I'll occasionally, I'll kind of go into the monthly spread and then map out, okay, when am I away, when am I teaching, when am I at meetings, and how much time does that leave me with? And then I can kind of calculate how much time I have in a given month for the projects that I want to work on. So I haven't done that this month because I haven't really needed to, because since I switched into this new cousin, I've kind of known what I've been doing. And so I kind of use this more on a sort of as needed basis rather than using it religiously. But I will also put things into future months if it's something that I know that I want to work on in a particular month, but I don't know exactly when. So I just put it onto the notes column here so that I don't lose track of it. Like, for example, I have to prepare a talk for a conference that's happening in September, and so I'll put it there because I know that I don't want to forget about it, and I don't need to deal with it until August. So when August comes, I'll see that there, and then I'll transfer it into the weekly spreads. Then we get to the weekly spreads, which are the heart of the planner, and as you can see, I use them quite a lot. This is the current week, which is actually not that busy at the moment, but you can see, last week and the week before are kind of much busier. On the left here, I just write down things that I have to get done sometime during this week, and I'll usually put these in a few weeks ahead of time or a week ahead of time whenever they come up, and I know that I want to do it in this week. I'll just put them in because I don't know yet which day I want to deal with them yet. But the fact that they're there kind of reminds me, and I have to keep going through it. And then I've got all of my appointments and my to-dos. And then I've set up the turning the page spread as a kind of future log for the following year. So at the moment, it's pretty empty because obviously I've just started this new planner, but as it gets towards the end of the planner, I start having dates that I need to be able to put somewhere for the following year. So in this case, the spring cousin runs until May of 2020 in the monthly spreads, but then from June 2020 until November 2020, I've just marked out the days here and then I just slot things in. So at the moment I've got one conference actually in the end of June 2020, so I've already put that in there, and then the rest of it I'll just fill up as I need to. And then this is the index for the daily spreads that I've already talked about, and then you can see here how I use some of the daily spreads. So this is just notes. So these are some to-dos that I want to remember for the main research project that I'm currently working on, and then here are some more notes to do with that. And so these don't correspond to the day. It's the 23rd at the moment, and I've just got a few blank days which I'll fill up as needed. And that's what it looks like until the end of the year. It's blank because this is a relatively new planner. So this is my main planner, and like I said, all of my appointments, whether they're work related or not, go in here, so I only have to look one place if I want to know when things are happening. As for to-dos, I only put in work related to-dos unless it's something that I need to do while I'm out and carrying this around with me. Otherwise, I will either put them on a sticky note or I will put them in my personal planner, which is an A5 5-year Techo from Hobonichi. So I initially bought this planner to use as a home planner, and it was going to be used for everything relating to what James and I both need to know. For example, my work schedule, his work schedule, when we have vet appointments for our dogs, like when we're going to the cinema, when there's something that is relevant to both of us, and it would stay open on the table. So I was using it like that probably until a couple of weeks ago. And it was really mostly just a planner for him to be able to kind of know what I'm doing, essentially, because I've got all of my other planners, and he also has a planner, but I would write down when I'm out, when I'm, you know, like when I'm in the university, when I'm away, stuff like that. And then it would be like helpful for him to be able to know. Then I ended up getting another planner to use in that capacity, and so I needed to repurpose this, and I decided to switch to using this as my personal planner. Basically, this is the only planner that I decorate, and it's very heavily decorated, as you can see. So one of the things that I decided that I was really curious to do when I bought this planner is see how the 5-year Techo would survive 5 years of intensive stickerating. And you can see that I have decorated up until the middle of May, and this is what it looks like. So it's pretty crazy. Obviously, because it's a 5-year Techo, I've only been decorating the first year, which is at the top of the book, so it looks really, really lopsided. So this is what it looks like at the bottom. This is like the 5th year and the 4th year and the 3rd year is here, so you can see that it's just gigantic at the top and it's really skinny at the bottom. So it will even out, and I am expecting that by the 5th year, or probably already by the 4th year, it will start looking more like this. So it's kind of freaking me out at the moment how it's so lopsided, but I'm happy to wait and see how it grows. So really all I need to do is hope that it can survive without exploding in a, like, you know, just an avalanche of stickers until December. And then I go back again to the beginning and start stickering this part, because this corresponds to year 2, you see. So I'll just put stickers in here, and then in the 3rd year I put stickers in here, and then here, and then here. So it actually won't get any fatter, if that makes sense. It will just get more evenly distributed, because at the moment it's just like whoom at the top, and then this looks very sad down here. So I'm almost to the halfway mark, so I'm thinking that if by December it looks kind of like this, as long as the binding hasn't broken, I'll be okay. So you can see that the binding is kind of, it's not like looking fantastic here, and it has split a bit here, but it's still holding together. It's fine. So I decorated the front covers, well, like the bookends, the end pages, with these just happy, jolly, motivational stickers from the Happy Planner. And I use the yearly spreads, and I really like about this planner the fact that it's very, very streamlined and minimalist. So it doesn't have a lot of stuff at the beginning, it just has these yearly calendars, and I decided to use these to list when our dogs have their vet appointments and their flea and worm medicine, because we have 3 dogs, so it can get a bit unwieldy to keep track of when they all have vet appointments. So I put them all in here, and then it actually all promptly changed, so this is totally invalid now, and it was really annoying, but I'm going to do it again for next year and hopefully get it right and the schedule won't change. And then after that, it's just daily spreads. So I just put in, you know, whatever has to happen for the day. And now that it's become my personal planner, I think of this as my fun planner. Anything that's not work related can go in here. I do also put in work related things, like for example, I was meeting my colleague today, and so I put that in. And obviously, because this is, you know, pretty chunky, I keep this at home. I don't take it with me. So it's kind of more for fun, because this is the planner that I just really like decorating, and I put everything on stickers. So this is the place where I get to use all of my Happy Planner stickers. So it's kind of like just a fun planner, but it is also where I put all of my personal stuff, so it has a function as well. I have this in a Lyra & Co. custom A5 cover, which it still fits into. Although I don't know how much longer it will be able to close. It can still close because the chunk is only at the top, but, you know, after year 2, or even when I get to like kind of, you know, October, November, I don't know if this will be able to close. So that will be interesting to see. Next we have the home planner. This is the Botanical Garden, I think it's called. Botanical, or maybe just Botanicals planner. And I just completely fell in love with it. I thought it's so beautiful. And I really like the layout, because the main thing that the home planner is good for is keeping James updated about my whereabouts, and also giving him jobs to do, basically. Finds it helpful if I write things down and then he can check it. And this wasn't very useful for that, because it's a daily layout, and also because of all the stickers, it can be kind of confusing. It can be kind of easy to get lost in the stickers, and it's not very good for writing to-do lists. And because every day you flip to a new page, it can be easy to kind of lose track of the tasks that you had to do beforehand. So when I saw this layout, I thought this is perfect because it's just checkboxes, so you don't even have to date it. You can just write some to-do lists and then leave them until they get done and tick them off, and it doesn't need to be decorated. It already looks pretty, and then, you know, you just carry on, and that really kind of will see you through the whole month. And then it's got all of these other nice features like this monthly dashboard spread and some habit trackers, and I got the household extension pack for it, and started using these half sheets for checklists because it hasn't actually started yet. It doesn't start until July, and I've put a bit of decoration on the monthly spreads. I've just started doing July and August, and I put some washi on and just mark some times when I'm going to be away so that it, you know, it can be seen at a glance. But other than that, I'm not really going to decorate it a lot because it's just supposed to be very functional and it already looks so pretty. The cover for this is from Doki Book. So they made these clear covers that are called Disc Agenda Clarity, and it's just a transparent cover which is really good quality. It's really thick. So I like it because we really liked this cover, but they get very scratched, and I don't really like the laminated plastic. So if you have something over it, then you can kind of admire the beauty, but you don't have the kind of feel of the laminated plastic. So this is a great cover. I'd really recommend it. The only problem with it is that I think it was made so that it could expand to fit the expander discs, and as a result, because this isn't like super gigantic, it's really, really loose. There's a lot of extra room. But anyway, I like the way it looks. So this is the home planner. Then we get to the last of the planners, and this is my Hobonichi Weeks. It's in a Corkor travel wallet. I think that they've stopped making these, which is a shame because they fit the Weeks perfectly and they're a really nice vegan leather sustainable option. So I just have a pen here and a couple of sticky notes. This is the fourth one that I've had, and this is the Sneaker Weeks Mega. So this was my personal planner where I would write down like everything that wasn't work related, anything that was like kind of day specific on this side, and then anything that was not day specific on this side. And I've just been decorating with colored pencils and doodles. So when I switched over to using this as my personal planner, I didn't want to have two planners where I put the same information in because I just find that annoying. That bugs me. I wanted them to have different purposes. So I decided to do something else with this, and this kind of ties into journaling. So this has various different sections. The month on 2-page spread is where I do tracking, and then the weekly spread is like the kind of weekly planning, and then the first half of the note pages I use for daily planning. So I'll make a weekly spread and decorate it, just like with like doodles and colored pencils, which I have been really enjoying. And then I just make a list of like all the stuff that I need to do, not necessarily for the day. Often I just do it in the evenings, but this is just a kind of like empty space where I know I have this much room for the week. And if I really needed to, I could make an extra spread for the week. I've never had to, but if I made a really long list and filled up all the space, then, so like this was last week and it got pretty full by the end of the week, but there is still more space here if I needed it. But there are some extra pages. I've given myself the first 118 pages, so I have like, you know, like an extra 15 pages or something if I, for some reason, had a really busy week and I needed 2 spreads for a week. So it's quite comforting to know that. And then the second half of the notes pages is just for notes, so things like shows to watch, Passover shopping, possible uses for another A5 5-year Techo, which is just something that I have been entertaining for fun, although I really shouldn't do it because I have enough planners, and you know, anything else that I want to have for reference or more long-term lists, that kind of thing. So I'm using all of that as I was. So what I switched doing recently is starting to use the left-hand side as a morning journal. And this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. Because I have a journal that I write in at the nighttime, and I wanted to have a journal that I would write in the morning as soon as I wake up. And I actually bought an A6 original Hobonichi with that purpose in mind, and discovered that, as I had feared, I am just such a terrible disaster in the morning that even the prospect of being able to journal in a beautiful Hobonichi was not enough to rouse me from my slumber, and it wasn't enough of a motivation. I just hate mornings, and I always get up at the very last minute before I have to be awake, like before I have an appointment, you know, like the absolute last minute, and it didn't work. But what does work is this, because it's a very small space, And because I was feeling like the weekly planning pages were redundant anyway, I just decided to use them as a morning journal instead. So I've basically switched over to that. And then on the right side, I just write random notes. Like, so if I'm somewhere at home and I happen to just have this planner with me, because it's small, I can usually carry it around with me, then I'll just note it down. Or things like cinema times, a shopping list, kind of, like random notes. So not really planning, just whatever I feel like writing down. That's how I'm using it, and then the rest of it I'm using it as I was before. So this has kind of become more of a catch-all notebook, I guess, rather than a planner, except I do still use the daily spreads here as planning. I'm calling them daily spreads even though I make one spread per week, because I think of it as where I just write a chronological list for the day of whatever I want to do that day, no matter how silly or unimportant it might seem, just so that I can see the whole day spread out in a list. And I don't use them every day, so I might, let's say last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, but nothing on Monday. The week before, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like nothing for the rest of the days of the week. So it just depends on what I need. Like if I'm out all day and I don't have a lot that I need to write in here, then it might stay blank. So that is my weeks. And we've now reached the end of the planners, and now we move over into the journals proper. So there are 3 of them, and they're all A6 size. So the first one is this original, the Japanese version. And I already mentioned this, that I bought this with the idea of using it as a morning journal. So I would get up, and then I would make myself a cup of tea, and then I would sit, and the birds would be singing, and I would journal, and I would be really happy and start the day off like, my wonderful morning. No, it didn't work out like that. It was not to be. I tried. I really did try. This started at the beginning of April, and I used the note pages in the back so that I could start early. So I actually started sometime in like the middle of March. What would happen is that inevitably I would get up late, be like, oh my goodness, I don't have time to journal. I have to leave the house immediately. And then not take it out with me, be gone all day, come back, be tired, do like, evening stuff. And then as I was about to go to bed, be like, okay, I have to fill this in. And then I would end up filling this in at the same time as I filled in my nighttime journal. This is my nighttime journal. I will talk about this in a second. And then I was like, this is silly. I've effectively just given myself 2 nighttime journals, which I did not want. And so then I tried various different things. I tried using this, like kind of carrying it around with me and writing a little bit throughout the day, like 3 different sections throughout the day so that I could fill it up. And I tried to train myself to do that. That didn't work. And then I started using it as a planner journal, so like where I write about things that I was thinking about doing with planners, so like working out planner issues, like if, when I wanted to switch to using this as a personal planner, I would write about that and what would I do with the weeks and all of my planner dilemmas. And that was fun because it kind of made it into like a hobby thing, but it was still difficult to find the time to do it. There's no happy ending to this story. Basically, I still don't have a really consistent way to fit this planner into my daily routine. And that is making me sad because it's beautiful. But I have a long history of having issues with the original, which is really interesting because I've had an original, I think, every year since 2015 except for last year. And I've used them for all kinds of different things. I've used them as a daily planner, as a personal planner, as a home planner, as a gratitude log, like all kinds of different things. And for some reason, I've never found anything that's really stuck. And I thought that I'd finally cracked it with the morning journal. I was feeling really smug and pleased with myself. But actually, it just seems like it's another thing that is not really working because like today, I didn't manage to write in it today, and now it's like 10:30 at night. The morning journal in the weeks works really well. It's like effortless. I can just fit it into my routine without even thinking about it. It works really well. And the same thing with this one, which is my nighttime journal, and this is the A6 English planner. This one, it feels like a struggle, and it's not its fault, I don't think. It's just that I think it's just one journal too many. So I really got into journaling at the beginning of the year with this planner, and then I kind of became like the zealous journal convert. I was like, I shall have 1,000,000 journals. And I think I managed to do pretty well, like not getting into a terrible situation where I have 1,000,000 dated planners that I'm using as journals and they all end up in the graveyard. This is the only one that's kind of been a problem. And what I'm thinking I'll do, if I can't get it to sort of integrate well into my daily routine, is I'll just ignore the dates and use it as a planner journal so that I kind of write about planner issues and planner problems just like for fun because I enjoy that, but not worry about the dates. So, if it lasts 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, that's fine. And that is obviously something of a challenge for a person that likes to stick to dates, which I do. But I think that it might be necessary for this one because I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to put it in the graveyard. I want to find some solution, and I just don't seem to be able to find a way to really like kind of integrate it into my day so that it doesn't seem like a chore. And I think it might be just that I've reached the limit of how much journaling I can realistically do in a given day. To be continued. I'll update you when I figure out what I'm doing with it. Then I have my beloved nighttime journal, and this is the A6 English planner, which I'd never used before this year, and I didn't know that I would love it so much, but I do. I just absolutely enamored of it. I've kind of made this into like my CBT journal where I'll like kind of challenge negative thoughts and stuff like that. So I really, really like it. I have used this every day since the beginning of the year, and it's, like I said, been completely effortless. It just hasn't been difficult to fit into my routine. I really look forward to it, and it's just like my sanctuary. And I don't know if it's the planner itself, the English, like something about the design of the English planner that I find really appealing, or if it's the fact that I look forward to having this quiet 10 minutes where I can just write about things at the end of the day, or a combination of the two. And also the pen, it's a Parker 51, which in medium, which is really fun to write with. I don't know what the magic formula is, but I just love it. And it's in a jelly cover from Salty Katie, which I also love. So this has been a huge success, and I want to have one of these every year. And then last but not least, I have the 5-year Techo in A6 with the Bloom cover, which I absolutely love, and it was expensive, but it was really worth it because I enjoy this every day. And you've seen this before. This is the 2nd year that I've been using this. I use this as a gratitude log and kind of daily highlights planner. So on the right hand side, I write down things that I'm grateful for that specifically relate to stuff that happened during the day. So last year I wasn't doing that. Last year I was writing down more kind of generic things, but this year I've tried to make it more specific so that it's more meaningful. And so I'll think of things that have happened during the day or that I've really enjoyed during the day and write them down. So I write down 5 of those things. And then on the left-hand side, I write down some things that happened during the day. They can be small things, like I had 2 naps. I've been really, really worn out recently. I decorated my A5 5-year Techo. That's the personal planner. Went for coconut milk lattes. Went on walks with James in the pack. That's like all of our 3 dogs. Just like stuff like that. Sometimes something particularly momentous happens and I write it down. Other times it's just like nice stuff that happened during the day. And each year I'm using a different ink. So last year this section was orange, and then now it's yellow, and then I'll go through so that it will be green the next year, and then blue, and then purple. So it will kind of be like rainbow as the year goes on, and you can see that I've changed the ink over the course of the year as well, so the whole thing will be like a kaleidoscope. And I write in this at the end of the day, just before I write in my nighttime journal, and so these two kind of go together, and I really look forward to them both at the end of the day. Like, this is just a lot of fun, and it takes literally like 2 minutes. It's just like a nice thing to do at the end of the day, and then it's fun to be able to look back on things, because obviously this is only the 2nd year and it's only April, so the things that I see from last year don't feel so remote yet, but I can imagine that, you know, after 5 years, like when I'm on the 5th year, that something that I did on the exact same day 5 years before, it will be really cool to be able to look back on it, because I won't remember those things, you know, 5 years from now. So these are my journals. These two are like kind of solid fixtures. They're not going anywhere. This one is still kind of a question mark. I'm definitely going to keep using it somehow, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to incorporate it into my daily routine, or if it's just going to become more like an undated journal where I just ignore the dates. And then we have the planners, or kind of planner-ish items. Catch-all notebook and daily planner, my personal planner with a massive stickeration, James planner, and my trusty Hobonichi Cousin, which is my work planner, but also like my kind of only real actual planner that I need for appointments and things like that. So there you have it. The one thing that I forgot to mention was that this cover is from Amazon. I'll leave a link down below because it's really cool, and it comes in A5 as well, and it's very good quality, and I've been really happy with it, and it has peacocks on it, so who doesn't like peacocks? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!